Well, it's been a really special evening here at the Carnegie School of Sport as Leeds Beckett University inducted its first raft of stars into its Sports Hall of Fame. We've had incredible leaders, practitioners, and a few sports stars as well. We snuck them off somewhere quieter to hear about their life here and their life after. Well, joining us now in our makeshift studio is Rebecca Foster, MBE. Now, you did an MA in physical education back in 2012. What is it like to be back and to be back in here that wasn't even built when you were here?
Well, I'm even more envious than ever because this facility is fantastic. And I made a special trip up when it first opened, actually, because I just couldn't believe that it was on the campus where I was lucky enough not only to do an MA, but a BEd also in teacher training. So it is an honour and a privilege to be back here just because you just see the next generation.
Now, amongst your many achievements in leading stuff, you've done a huge amount with the UK Deaf Sports and the Deaf Olympics. How did that come about? How did you get involved with that?
It's a language that I've always been interested in. And when I retired from athletics, I wanted to put something back into community. So I thought I'd marry my teaching and my interest in sign language or desire to learn that with coaching. So I took myself down to Stoke, which is where a chap called Brian Cockerua was the head coach at the time. And I kind of said, look, I've got some skills here. Would you like to use them? And I haven't looked back since.
So where's it taken you?
Well, geographically all over the world, mentally to many different places, because with volunteering is a great reward, but with it comes some strife also about balancing work. But for the amount of people that I've met and hearing their stories, and in a very privileged position in the deaf culture, being a hearing person myself, to be embraced into that community has been really eye-opening.
And I was reading just this week an article about the lack of funding for deaf athletes. There's still a lot of work to do, isn't there, to give them the platform to deliver what they have trained so hard for, just like any other athlete.
Very much so. We are in a very exciting period with a new CEO of UK Deaf Sport, and only very recently presented an account to the DCMS committee about the issues that they've constantly had of being somewhat overlooked, and knowing the efforts that a lot of very talented deaf people have been involved in but have been curtailed simply because of lack of funding, because they haven't had the backing of sponsors or talent pathways.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because you've got the Olympics and you've got the Paralympics, but it then does tail off, doesn't it? Unless it's football or whatever, a sort of professional sport that they because they're not part of the Paralympic movement, they're completely overlooked.
They are, and I've had many discussions that people have said, oh, maybe deaf athletes should be present in the Paralympics, but it's already a contested space. There's a lot of competition for events. As we know, Hannah Cockcroft, David Weir, massive Paralympians, couldn't always do their chosen event. So if we were to insert deaf athletes, where would they fit? Who would then lose out? And which sports would be chosen over some, when we know that we have a whole community of deaf sport athletes? But it might be a start. The Paralympic introduction to the Paralympics may be a start, the sort of cushion that we need to get some exposure, to get some role models into the field. But equally, the deaf culture is so very rich that after going to 3 different Deaf Olympics, unless you've been there, you can't see how important it is necessarily to the community, and that bondness, that uniqueness of being completely in the same space, of the barriers that they face in our society even today.
Just coming back to your time as a student here, I mean, could you have believed what you would have gone on to do and where in the world it would have taken you and who you've met?
No, not at all. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I love helping or facilitating or trying to give people a leg up, is what I say. And I feel very lucky that I've been afforded the opportunity to do that. And no, I still have to pinch myself with the MBE, with here, because I've always wanted to say that I'm from Yorkshire. I'm not, but I pretend that I am, just because I love Leeds so much.
Well, it's lovely to have you back, and it's lovely to have you in the Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
Well, our next guest is Jamaican diver Yona Knight-Wisdom, who got a BSc in Sport and Exercise Science here in 2016. What do you remember of that then, Yona?
It's actually funny you're referring to like a BSc in Sport and Exercise Science, because I don't often tag that along with who I am and what I've done. It's just something that's kind of just there. But my experience and time at Leeds Beckett was amazing. You know, it was a 3-year course. The 3 years absolutely flew by. I made some great connections at the time, but I was also so focused on diving that it wasn't easy to particularly build on those connections.
Yeah, I mean, diving, there's a lot of training goes into diving. I probably came along and watched you in those times. How did you fit a degree into being a full-time athlete?
Well, one of the challenges is obviously diving isn't involved in the books program. So it was always very separate. I didn't, use the facilities as much as maybe some of the other sports people did. And I had to figure out the balance between training and studying kind of myself. I had enough support, but I didn't get like too much support to make sure everything fit. But just by chance, lectures fit at the right time for training sessions and vice versa. And, sometimes if I felt that training was a bit more important, I would focus on that and kind of do the studying in my own time. And, I just found a way to get a nice little balance. But the most important thing was that sports science fit my diving development really well, because everything that I learned in sports science, I could apply practically at the pool. And then everything that I knew from diving, I could also apply to the theory of sports science, which helped me to understand it a little bit easier.
You became the first male diver to represent Jamaica, and I know it's something you're incredibly proud of, and have used that to then go and develop the sport in Jamaica. How is that going? What is the legacy from your career like?
Yeah, it's slowly building. It's going to be a very, very slow build over a long period of time, but I'm just glad that I've got started. So in 2023, I started with running a dive camp. I was actually just on holiday in Jamaica and decided to add it into the end of my holiday in Kingston. And, it was much more successful than I could have imagined. So I then felt the responsibility to do it next year. So I did it again in 2024, and it was even more successful. And then I had to do it again this year. But the plan and the want from myself was to make sure that each year that I did the camp, I wasn't just starting from scratch each time. So after this year, we decided to kind of set up an organization, and that's just been registered. We're going through like the kind of boring process of that. But I've got a couple of people on the ground over there to help me deliver diving lessons, to try and build the business side of it. We've got a collaboration with the University of Technology in Jamaica, which is amazing. And it shows me the power of the university. And that's why, being here at Leeds Beckett is really important, because to have that connection with universities, how much they can support the growth and development of people, programs, sports is remarkable. So, it's going slowly, but the most important thing is it's going, and we're starting from nothing. So we've got to work hard to try and build it.
Exciting though.
Really exciting. Yeah. Because, one day, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years time, there might be a diver that goes to the Olympics representing Jamaica, who might be the first Olympic diver since myself, but they could be homegrown and they could have developed in Jamaica. And my real hope is to prove that Jamaica can be more than just track and field. And I obviously proved that myself, but I wasn't born there. I didn't grow up there. I didn't start diving there. So I want to show that we can develop other sports in Jamaica outside of track and field. I think that's very important to show for the young people, for them to have aspirations and not just be funneled into one pathway. And if you're not good enough in that pathway, then you've got to do something else. To have different potential opportunities in sport, because sport is so powerful. And Jamaica being such a strong sporting nation, that they will get behind their athletes, and it's important that they have a wide range to choose from.
And what was that buzz like for you to have them behind you when you went to your first Olympics?
It was amazing. The positivity of Jamaican people helped me stay positive. Whether I competed well or competed badly, the response was always either congratulations or don't worry, you'll get them next time. And that's actually the same thing that I got from my dad as well, his approach to my career. And, his I think culture came from there. So yeah, it was fantastic. I felt like I did myself really proud. I did my family really proud, but I also did this entire very small nation very proud to succeed in diving, and then to do it again and again, and then to be rewarded with something like a team captaincy in Paris. You know, it showed the effect that I had on the island, and it's a relationship that I don't want to just leave now that I've retired. I want to build on it, develop it, and help spread that positivity to other people as much as possible.
Alongside what you're doing in Jamaica, you're now at the Olympic pool in London, working as a coach. How did that come about, and what's it like? Yeah,
well, I mean, I never knew that I actually wanted to be a coach. That wasn't the pathway that I thought I would go down after I retired from diving. I thought that I might want to test myself in a different field and see if the skills were transferable. But there kind of came a time when I was coaching some young kids in Edinburgh where, you know, that was the thing that I put the most effort into. And that was the thing that I actually enjoyed the most amongst all the other things that I was trying and playing around with outside of diving. So I figured, you know, I probably should try and go down that route. But I knew that if I was going to go down that route, I wanted to do it at a high performance level, because that's where I felt like I could share the most. That's where I had the most experience. And, you know, just by kind of fortunate circumstances, but also putting myself in the right place at the right time, I managed to get a role replacing, I say, quote unquote, one of the greatest coaches that we've ever had in this country, James Figueiredo.
Yeah, you don't possibly want to say that.
Well, I mean, yeah, like she is the one that left, and I'm the one that has come in, and I obviously can't touch what she's achieved in her career, but you know, I feel the responsibility to make sure that the lost kind of knowledge and the lost drive and focus and intensity hasn't been lost. You know, I can bring that in my own different way. I think my success in my own career goes without saying, and that gives me a lot of authority. So I just need to obviously learn a lot about coaching, but there's also so much that I do know that I can transfer to the athletes, and I just need to try and get them on board. So kind of going through that process now, it's really exciting. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's making me think in very different ways, but you know, it's progressive, and that's what I'm all about.
And somewhere down the line, might there be a link up between the Jamaican setup that you've started and the coaching in London? Maybe, you know, if there's a real standout star, they could come over and train alongside the British Olympic divers.
Yeah, I would love to make opportunities like that. And that's the benefit that I saw in staying in diving, is that I can stay at a high level and have really high, strong connections that can help to build the program in Jamaica, making sure that I don't take away from what I'm trying to do here. And that's also essentially the way that my career works out. Obviously, I was based here, but I gained a lot from being a part of the British system without being a part of it, you know? So I feel like I can give that back to them by supporting the development of British divers, but I can also help, I guess, speed up the process in Jamaica by sharing the knowledge that I gained from here, but also creating a tighter connection between Great Britain and Jamaica, and supporting the development that way.
Take you back to being the bright-eyed student you were here, you know, sort of looking ahead to a great career in diving. The legacy that you've had, I mean, you could never have dreamt of that, and that must be so exciting.
No, I couldn't have. But also at the same time, I saw no other outcome than succeeding and making an Olympics. You know, whilst I was here, you speak about bright-eyed. I was here in 2013 to 2016. And that was exactly the period of my progression towards the Rio Olympics. So I was learning a hell of a lot during my diving career at that time, going to all these different competitions, struggling, having disappointments, upsets, but also some really positive moments. And then coming back here and having to study and do the physiology and the nutrition lectures and struggling to stay awake in those, but also knowing that the education side of things was very important to me, kind of all funneling to this point in 2016 where I went to Rio in February to qualify my spot. I actually arrived there, had terrible jet lag. So I woke up in the middle of the night and I just started working on my dissertation because I was like, I might as well make productive use of my time, right? And then qualified my spot, got the silver medal, graduated from university and then went to the Olympics in the summer. So it was just like this amazing crossover of two amazing moments in my life coming together at the same time successfully, and then being released into the big bad world, it felt like. So yeah, it was an amazing time here. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about sport and about the importance of education. And I've really just tried to carry that forward with me.
It's absolutely incredible. It's lovely to see you again.
Yeah,
and
likewise.
that legacy is quite something.
Yeah, I mean, we were just speaking about how you helped to kind of launch my whole media vibe.
I'm to blame.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. But it's really cool to look back on those moments, you know, and to see how it worked out and yeah, the legacy that's been created. You know, we're just at the start of that. There's so much more to be built on, but I need to keep on working very hard on it.
Well, best of luck with it, and fingers crossed for you.
Thank you.
Well, for our next guest, it's home from home. Laura Weightman came here as a student, and you got a BSc in Sport and Exercise Science, Laura, back in 2013, but you never left, did you?
No, Leeds is very much home, on and off the track, and away, so I suppose, from performance. Leeds very much has become my home, and you know, the northeast where I came from will always have a special place to me, but Leeds very much has become home in my life and my future now.
Outside of the windows here is the track that you ran many times around, but what we're sitting in, this incredible strength and conditioning suite, wasn't here when you were a student.
No, this was actually a car park, and I remember, I mean, I dread to think how many laps of that track I've ran over the years, and it's actually amazing to see the development of sport on this campus and the evolution of this building and what we're here for today.
You obviously went on to run in Olympics, Europeans, Commonwealth Games, picking up many medals along the way. How instrumental was your time here?
I'll always say coming to Leeds was one of the best decisions I made of my life. It had a significant impact on my career, to the point in which, had I not come to Leeds, I wonder what my career would have looked like and my life on and off the track. Coming to Leeds was so much more than a degree. It was the people, the environment, the place that really sort of made my career and gave me the platform to go on to have the career that I did.
And you now coach here, which is why you haven't left, part of the Pathways programme and elite coaching as well. How did that move from athlete to coach come about for you?
It felt like a very natural transition. I retired following extensive knee surgery that unfortunately meant that I wasn't able to return to high performance. And at that point, I was given a few opportunities to help coach various athletes and help support training camps and environments. And I was already helping here in Leeds coach a number of athletes. So it felt like a natural transition. I've always been someone who's wanted to help and had a natural, I suppose, urge to want to help others. So it's a privilege, it's a journey, it's an exciting process, and one of which I love being stood trackside now, helping other athletes on their journeys.
And you came here, Steve Cram was your coach. Obviously, he didn't move to Leeds with you. And that's been one of the themes, hasn't it, of this university, of people coming here with Keely Hodgkinson came here, but she kept her coaches, but they worked with the team here. Is that something that you are now doing as a coach?
Very much so. Leeds is a very open, collaborative environment. There's some wonderful people here, and the environment itself, it's very open, and it is a very high performance environment, but somewhere that we can all collaborate, work together and help others. And it's exactly what I'm doing now, working with my former coach, Steve Cram, as we're now coaching as a duo, Laura Muir, helping her along her journey and using all the things that I've learned and the things that Steve's learned from his experience of coaching me and his career, and now putting that into practice, coaching alongside him to support Laura.
How much of a buzz for you to be coaching an athlete of her standing?
It's really special to be able to support someone who's not only a friend, but also a competitor that I looked up to for many, many years. So to be able to be part of her team and help her on this chapter of her career is really special.
And for other athletes who are coming in at different levels, to see her training here, for students to see Laura Muir running around that track, how important is that in inspiring people?
I hope for all students in Leeds that you're inspired by what you see out on that track. Students in here who are working, students who are training out on the track. At any one time, you could have 3, 4, 5, 6 Olympians on the track. You've got Phil Sessman here, Emile Carrès, Alex Bell, amongst others who train on a regular basis on this track. And yeah, I really would like to feel like it's an open, inclusive environment for all abilities and all levels to come together and train and be their version of their best.
And what's it like for them? What was it like for you to just be in the sporting environment that this is? Because you've come up with a load of world-class athletes, but you've got the triathletes that come here. I know there are boxers who use this. You get some of the Leeds United players coming down for the medicals, the rhinos, all of that, just to be a part of that environment.
I've always said Leeds is so much more than just a place that I came to study. It's a really special environment in which it's friendly, it's relaxed, but marry that with high performance and you get true success. And you really see that across the broad spectrum of athletes that have come and studied in Leeds, but also competed on the global stage. And it really is, for me, it's about the people and the connections and the environment. And I think the athletes and practitioners alike make it such an environment that you just feel relaxed and you're able to thrive.
And there's so much else going on in this building, isn't there, in terms of research, nutrition, the heat chambers, biometry, all of that stuff that comes into it. And you know, how important is that for an athlete to have that to tap into and people to go and ask?
It's the ultimate high performance environment. We have got absolutely everything that we need here in Leeds under one roof in one place to perform and be at our absolute best. So for athletes preparing, it was the same when I was here studying and training. I had everything I needed. I rarely needed to leave Leeds. And that wasn't just the facilities, but that was the people that were here to make my journey as smooth as possible and to prepare for all of my championships and races the best that I could.
A little bit jealous, though, of the ones coming through who've got this building and everything that goes with it.
Yeah, I think the athletes now are extremely lucky they've got this building. I think the facilities here are absolutely incredible, especially that indoor track on the roof. That would make those cold winter nights warming up that little bit easier.
And how much are you enjoying this part of your career and still being a part of this place and it being your home?
If someone had told me, when I started my career that I'd retire with the successes that I did, but then I would go on to have a second career in the sport still, that for me is such a privilege and honour to be able to do that and to say that now my job still is being stood trackside with a stopwatch on the other side. It's absolutely wonderful to be able to do that, and I'm loving every minute of that journey.
Ever think you'll lose the North East accent and gain a Yorkshire one?
I don't think so, unfortunately. I think 15 years in now, it's fully cemented.
We'll keep working on you. It's lovely to see you and good luck with all the athletes that you're coaching now.
Thank you.
Well, our next guest did not one, but 2 degrees here. Paul Heckingbottom is a very successful football manager and was a very successful player as well. But he did a BSc and then an MSc in sports coaching. Paul, it's an unusual route for a football manager to take, to come and study. Why did you do it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I weren't trying to be a football manager. My ambition as a coach, my dream job, if you like, was to be an under-18 coach. An under-18 coach at my team, which was Barnsley, because I felt I could make a difference there. So I wasn't setting out to be a manager, but I certainly thought that it would help my CV look different. A lot of players, friends of mine, people who you're competing against them for coaching roles would have a playing background and hundreds of games playing experience, would have done the national governing body qualifications, the FA qualifications. And I just thought, how can I make myself look different and set myself apart? So it was that pure reason to start with. But after, I probably struggled for the first few months. I think I came back, I was 33, playing netball with 19, 20-year-olds. And I'm thinking, this is not what I envisaged it was going to be. But there's a moment I went to speak to Gareth Morgan, who was one of the tutors who actually got me on there, now works for the FA. And I spoke about my concerns and, I'm not sure this is the route I want to go down. And we had a conversation about the next assessment, what it looked like and what type of work you'd have to produce. And at that time, I was still playing part-time football, but I'd begun coaching at Barnsley College and in Barnsley Academy. And as soon as he went through the assessment with me, I was just, all of a sudden, it was really relevant for the players I was working with at that moment. And it was a light bulb moment.
I was about to say, it's one thing to do the initial degree, to go on and do an MSc. What pushed you to do that as well?
Well, I think I'm trying to think the role I was doing when I finished the degree. I was probably maybe doing the under-21s at Barnsley then, because I'd done the under-18s, and I didn't want to take the under-21s role because they were always really messy in certain clubs, but I was almost pushed into doing that. And then the year after, it was more 21s and first team, and when managers leave, you're stepping up. But I just really, I just felt a big difference in what I'd learned at uni to what I'd learnt on the FA course. And that's not me saying the FA course are bad. I'm just saying different interests, different avenues that you think you're weak in or you'd like to explore a little bit more. You get the opportunity to, whereas the FA qualifications are set in stone.
Yeah, it's fair to say you were a reluctant manager, weren't you? You're one of those, you kept being forced to step up because people got sacked, but turned out to be quite good at it, Paul.
Yeah, I think, it was strange. I think it was the third time I stepped up to sort of be interim, and I knew the club, it was Barnsley at the time, where I just got a different feeling that they weren't looking for another manager. And I think we were about 14th in the league, but began climbing and got in around the playoffs. But when offered the job, I think we just won the Johnson's Paint final as it was then. I just said I'd think about it, because a lot comes with it. Silly things like Barnsley was my team, and the moment I say I'm going to become the manager, I'm beginning the exit, if you know what I mean, because it just happens. One way or another, you're going to leave. Life as a football manager is short. Plus, I felt I could be really valuable to the club and help in lots of different ways in the roles I was doing. But it's safe to say we did have the conversation as a family that if we got promoted, there was just no way, because I was enjoying it, and the more I was doing it, the more I enjoyed it, the more it's a different job, and I advise anyone of my friends who get the opportunity to step up, even if it's just interim, I always say do it, because it's not for everyone, I get that, but you'll certainly be better at whatever role you go into having experienced it. So yeah, just for me, I just enjoyed it.
And you've done pretty well with it. I mean, I suppose that the highlight, getting Sheffield United to the Premier League.
Yeah, I've been fortunate. Like the 4 clubs I managed, 5 now, another one in the Championship. So Barnsley, my hometown team. I was mascot for Barnsley, season ticket holder for Barnsley, played and got promoted for Barnsley. So that was a big deal. Leeds United, huge club, Hibernian. Managing up there in the SPL and the rivalries that are up there in Scotland, really fortunate to have experienced that. And an Englishman working in Scotland, there's a different dynamic there as well. And I thought I would step away at that point and just focus again back on the coaching and working with the players, because that's my passion. But another opportunity arose then at Sheffield United, I felt like I avoided it the first time I stepped up to be interim, but the second time, that's fine if you want me to do it, but this is what it needs to look like. I've brought some good staff in with me. And and you're learning all the time. So it's strange profession, football. You get sacked or things don't work out and people make judgments. But as I sit here now, I'm 100 times the manager, coach or leader, if you like, than I was when I got Barnsley promoted, when everyone says how good you are. Do you know what I mean? Just because of all the experiences and probably the ability to reflect and put things in context a little bit more, which things like attending Leeds Beckett or Leeds Met as it was when I first started have helped me to do. And
do you talk to players about maybe doing something like this? Because football in particular, we had the rugby league players up on stage and they know they're going to have to go and earn a living after it. They are not going to earn that kind of money. But footballers, they're in academies from so young. Yeah, they have an education, but almost none have a university education.
We're behind. You look at, say, how Germany approach it, and it runs side by side, that they're all the way through to, I think it's about 19, where they're still studying. We're not. 2 things. I think the end goal, the possible outcome for families and players, when you talk about finance and stardom and fame that comes with it, wrongly, in my opinion, people put that then to the top of the agenda and how important it is. And also then football clubs, the money that they can make and the commodity that a player is to a football club. No matter what anyone says, I've seen it firsthand, that's how players are treated as well. So why would they be pushing another interest of that player? But for them as a person, for them to be healthy, for them to be really grounded, I think it goes hand in hand. And something I always did as a scholar, I stayed on and did A-levels when I was at United, and something my family pushed. And after a career what I thoroughly enjoyed, those A-levels helped me step straight onto a degree.
And being back here, surrounded by all the different sports, your netballers, kayakers, rugby league, is it nice to be back in that mixed environment again? Yeah,
a big thing and another reason, back to a previous question, another reason about why did I stay on, or why did I re-enroll, if you like, and do a master's. Football's a bubble, and when you're managing, it's a hell of a bubble. And I think one of the things that people could potentially struggle with is that it becomes all-consuming, which it is, and it should be if you want to be successful. But I think for you to deal with it properly and for you to be stimulated properly, you need other things. And a big thing of that is how inspiring all these people are. But also when you're mixing with people who challenge your thinking, a different perspective on the same situation, but in a different sport, is, it's really valuable.
Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank
and
you.
Good luck with Preston, your latest venture.
Thank you.
Well, our next guest is a woman that I've known for very many years, unless I'm very much mistaken, dunked me in water at this very university. Claire O'Hara, MBE, got a BA in Sport and Recreational Development back in 2005, went on to become the most successful female freestyle paddler of our time. Just explain to people, before we get into the nuts and bolts of you being here and all the rest of it, what you actually did as a freestyle kayaker.
So as a freestyle kayaker, it's a form of whitewater kayaking. So kayaking generally is sitting in a kayak, in a boat, on a lake, two ends to your paddle, and you're kind of paddling around. That's the basic concept of a kayak. So legs in front, in a hole, in a boat, and your arms on top. Whitewater kayaking is where you take that skill and you move it onto rivers and oceans and waterfalls. And the more experienced you get and the more interested you are doing hard stuff, it moves into the extreme sport world from the kind of basic recreational lake scenic side of it. The whitewater kayaking is on white water, in essence, as it says. And then freestyle is the gymnastics side. The most basic way of explaining it is doing tricks in a kayak. So the closest comparison I can describe it to in terms of understanding it for most people is freestyle snowboarding, where you've got your half pipe and the snowboarders are doing the tricks. In a freestyle whitewater kayak, you are on whitewater surfing waves and using other river features, and you're getting that boat to jump in the air and do flips, front somersaults, back somersaults, rotational twists. And that's freestyle kayaking. It's kind of being free in what you're doing. It used to be called play boating, so in your boat playing around. The competitive side of it and the more kind of serious side of it is freestyle.
I have to say, I was lucky enough to watch you, and it is an absolute blast to watch. I have not a Scooby-Doo how you do it. How did you get into it?
I got into it in Leeds at the canoe club, and we were just doing whitewater kayaking. So going out to the rivers around Yorkshire, it rains a lot, so there's always rivers. So we were heading out and paddling all sorts of local runs and getting better and better. And the reason I got into freestyle, actually, funnily enough, was because it was a bit safer. The nature of an adventure sport, extreme sport, is the better you get, the harder you can push. And the margin for error in some of the extreme sports is quite small. Quite a few people I knew were getting into trouble on some of the bigger water, even though they were exceptionally talented, exceptionally skilled. Just the risk element of an adventure sport is massive. So some of the lads that I was kayaking with started doing the freestyle and just started doing tricks. And I was in a bigger boat at the time and couldn't do it, and was a bit jealous, really, and was like, I saw them having so much fun and not having as much risk associated with it at all. Like, they were kind of still doing the sport, but in a much safer way. And I just wanted to do it. So that's how I got into freestyle. I just saw what they were doing, decided that was what I wanted to do, and set about learning how to do it. And the great thing about freestyle kayaking was that you never reached an end point. There was always something else to learn. So the better you got, just the harder the tricks got, but the risk element didn't increase with it, which was quite nice.
And it's fair to say that the time you spent here was fundamental to the success that you had.
Oh, the amount of time I spent in the swimming pool here, the classic old swimming pool, was incredible, but it was much bigger than that. The amount of support that I got from the university was just huge, and the confidence that support gave me, again, also just inspired me to reach the goals that I wanted to get to. So I studied my course. I loved my course. I met some amazing people, had some fantastic lecturers, but it was the support that came alongside that from Malcolm Brown giving me a scholarship, and then the access to coaches, mentors, physios, psychologists, nutritionists, all the stuff that in my sport at the time didn't exist for athletes. It's changing now slowly, but due to a lot of volunteers and in part due to my presence within the sport and the support that I had. But it pretty much turned me from a non-professional athlete into a professional athlete, but within a sport that was still non-professional. So it was all, I wasn't funded, I never really earned money from it. It was all through sponsorships, scholarships, and very generous volunteers working with me. And that all started from Leeds Beckett.
It was in that old pool that you tipped me over in a two-person kayak. But And fair play to your core strength. Got us back upright again. I think you failed the first time, didn't you? I think
so. I think we had to go. I think we stayed in, but didn't get up straight away. It's a bit of a different journey doing it with another person in. But like, you remember that, and you remember that for life. And that's one of the wonderful things about adventure sport and outdoor sports, or sport generally, is how critical it is in our core memories as we move forward. And like, I remember it to that day as well. But yeah, that was here in the pool and sharing my sport with other people, and through yourself we were able to take it into the wider Leeds environment through the television, but through the university, through doing the residential programs and through the clubs that exist here at the university as well. Kayaking and canoeing were able to actually be presented to so many more young people coming up and show them something beyond just your mainstream typical sports.
It means enough for you to be here. You've travelled quite a long way, haven't you, to be here tonight?
Absolutely, literally from the other side of the world. I'm now living on the Gold Coast, Australia, but this place is such a huge part of my life that when the opportunity came up, I was like, yeah, actually, you know what? I'm coming back. I want to be part of this momentous moment tonight.
I hate to break it to you, you've definitely got an Aussie twang going on in there.
It's so funny. Back home, everybody thinks I've got the biggest British accent, and my 6-year-old's got a very strong British accent. But my 5-year-old boy is as local Gold Coast as you can possibly get.
And are you still kayaking out there? Are you still banging the drum for the sport? Are you coaching now?
A little bit. A lot of my coaching's remote at the moment. COVID changed everything in terms of my involvement face-to-face in the sport, especially being in Australia and lockdown at that time. And it coincided with me having young children. So at the moment, I'm not doing a huge amount of travelling. I did go to Canada last year and rode some massive waves and realised I was extremely unfit and I took for granted how fit I was prior. But that was quite an eye-opener. And I've competed in a couple of world championships since having the kids. But at the minute, I'm really just focused on giving the kids the best opportunity. But in a couple of years' time, they're 6 and 5 now. So when they're 7, 8, 9, they're going to start getting into it, be able to get into it safely and properly. And New Zealand's just a stone throw away. So I will remain in the sport forever. And I'm still in touch with the organisers, and I still coach a lot of people around the world at a very high level. But I'm for me, I'm taking a little bit of break. Yeah.
Sounds absolutely wild. And the next generation of Claires is quite scary to think of. You've been chatting to a fair few people, including Malcolm Brown out there. I mean, how nice to meet up with them again, and people who have been so important in the life that you have had.
Absolutely. Like Malcolm's role in my career and many other athletes, in fact, just the university general, I think gets missed a little bit. It doesn't. Everybody knows how much of a huge part he's played, but it's nice to get him to see him and say thank you each time I see him, and really give a tiny little bit back to what his decisions and his inspirations and ideas meant to those of us that were lucky enough to have him support us in many ways. And for me, it was mainly in those early days through that scholarship and him trusting me as an athlete and as a student, but also having the belief to say, you know what, yeah, you're in a non-traditional sport, but you're doing amazing. Let's give you the backing to keep going. And that meant the world. And to be here today with him watching alongside everybody else is just, yeah, it means the world.
Glad you made the journey back.
Thank you.
Well, our next guest, it's kind of a home from home being in a strength and conditioning gym for her. It is weightlifter Emily Campbell, who got a BSc in sport and exercise science back in 2016. And this incredible gym didn't exist when you were here. You'd have loved it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I literally said that when I walked in. I was like, wow, this place is so cool. But yeah, you know what? It made me the weightlifter I am, training in the good old mobile gym across the road. We're simple creatures as weightlifters. So,
well, except you came here actually as a hammer thrower, didn't you? You started as a hammer thrower and left as a weightlifter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what attracted me obviously was having the track on site, and the course was good here as well. And I just had that nostalgic feeling when I first came here, and I was like, I looked at here and Sheffield, but then as soon as I drove onto Headingley campus, I was like, yeah, I think this is the uni for me. And started with the athletics team, going to Bucks Championships, and then essentially wanted to get stronger for that, and that's how I stumbled across weightlifting.
And was it just something you suddenly thought, I just love this? Was it a love of it, or I'm just good at it, or was it a combination?
Bit of a combination. It definitely started with the love. I loved the fact that one day you went in and it was going really well, and then the next day you looked like you'd never done it in your life, and it used to frustrate me, and I used to want to go back in and try and be better and better. But yeah, essentially, obviously, everyone said that if you do it, you'll get stronger, you'll throw the shot further. So in my head, I was like, I need to stick at it to see if it, really does help the shot. Just not realising how good I was going to be at weightlifting.
Oh, and when did you actually start doing Olympic weightlifting? Because presumably the strength and conditioning that you were doing was not Olympic lifting, which is a very technical thing.
Correct, yeah. So I was kind of just doing more like strength-based training, so it's like squats, deadlifts, bench, them kind of things, up until my final year. And then towards the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, that's when I started doing the Olympic lifts. That's when I asked the coach if they'd teach me how to do Olympic lifting, because they said the transfer of power would help with the shot and the hammer. And that's kind of went from there.
And was it an immediate thing? It just clicked?
Yes and no. I would say that obviously everyone was very surprised on how kind of quick I picked it up. But yeah, I looked like Bambi on ice when I first started. And there was a lot of things to learn. And when you're super strong, but your technique's not there, it's very humbling, because there's no way you can do the weights you're capable of doing if the technique's not right. So, you have to strip right back and, really put the ego aside. So yeah, it was a lot of drilling things over and over and over again. And yeah, I mean, that did I know that was going to be the rest of my career, just doing things over and over and over again till it's as perfect as you can make it.
It is one of those things, isn't it? For those of us who dabble in a little bit of weights, what you do is technically you have to be so precise.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you get to my level now, it is literally about the 1%, and it's about really being really picky. Where's the weight in your feet? Where's the bar? What extension are you doing? All the other bits and bobs, all the little imbalances. So there's lots and lots to think about. But yeah, that's what you have a good team and coaching staff to help you do,
And you have an Olympic medal to show for it as well. What was it like to be the first British woman to get a weightlifting medal for so long? Yeah.
I mean, it was... I didn't really know how to describe it at first. Obviously, it was such an unprecedented games. We all went in just happy to be there, happy to even make an Olympic Games. Everyone had been through such a rough time in the entire world. And we kind of felt like the cohort that had to bring everyone hope again. I think the medals were kind of the last thing that everyone was thinking about. But, I got there, I knew I was in great shape. The weightlifting world knew if I could pull it out the bag, I'd have to do something pretty cool, but if I could do it, I could get a medal, and obviously I did. And then it wasn't really until after that I realised that obviously no other woman in our sport had ever won a medal before from Britain. So to be the first to do that, I'll obviously forever be in the history books. And it's a pretty cool thing when you think about it.
And hopefully it inspires other people to follow your route.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything I've always said from the beginning is, we kind of had a pessimistic look about it, because obviously we hadn't had an Olympic medal for, I think it was 46 years, and we had never had a female win a medal. So there was kind of this perception of weightlifting, British weightlifting, that we would never do that and that couldn't be achieved. And I kind of was a person that thought, well, someone's got to break the mold here. Someone's got to prove to these young girls, because why are these young girls going to come into the sport if they don't have at least a feather of belief that they can do something really cool with it? So I'm glad I was able to do that. And then kind of from then, it was kind of me cementing that as well, not just kind of, everyone calling it the shock medal of the games, but then going on to obviously win the Commonwealth Games after, going on to get world medals, going on to win another Olympic medal, was kind of just to show all these young girls and boys that actually, if you stick at it, you work really hard, that there's a chance that you could do something really cool with it.
I have to say, I've thought about you a few times this summer, this women's, sporting summer that we've had, and particularly with the rugby union, where you have seen women of all shapes and sizes, on the elite stage being watched by millions of people, which is something you've been banging the drum for so long, isn't it?
Yeah, it was so special. I mean, I was really, really lucky that I actually got to be part of both of those global finals. So I watched the women in Switzerland, the football, and I went and watched the women at Twickenham as well, win that Rugby World Cup. And it's so special. I had a moment where I kind of just sat there and I saw how full the stadium was. And I just wanted to literally scream people watch women's sport, because it's always like, nobody watch women's sport. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And they do love it, and people want to support it. And yeah, it was just so special. Like you said, them little girls were probably looking at the screen and seeing somebody that looked like them. And I think that's so important important. And I think we're doing that more and more now with our Olympic teams. You know, we're getting more diverse, we're getting more people on it. And it was actually more women than men, I think, Olympics wise in Paris. So, you know, that's really, really special. And it shows that we're moving in that right direction. And we just got to keep, you know, banging the drum and going the way that we're going.
But also showing that women are allowed to have muscles and be strong and be powerful and all the rest of it, which is, you know, a huge message, isn't it, for young girls?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely. It's showing that, you know, your body should be appreciated for what it is, and that, you know, you shouldn't feel like you have to be a certain way or you have to, you know, look a certain way. And I think that's so, so special. Like I said, to obviously see that live in the flesh and see people doing really cool things that look completely different. Yeah, I think, you know, men are always champion no matter how they look. So I think that it should be the same for us women. And yeah, hopefully us girls at the top can do as much as we can to, you know, keep promoting that message.
Now, I'm embarrassed to say, having worked in sport for many, many years, it was relatively late in my life that I realised that particularly women of my age, we should be lifting heavy weights. And you know, what you do is not quite to the level that for likes of me, but it is really important for women's health to lift weights. How do you get that message out there, do you think?
Yeah, it's quite difficult. It's something I've been working on. I mean, it is still mind-blowing to us, obviously, in the strength world, that then people are like, oh, really? I should be doing this. And it's like, there's strength training available to everybody, and it should be part of everybody's life. Everything we do in daily life, carrying the shopping, you know, carrying babies upstairs, it's all to do with strength training. And the more strength training you do, the easier those everyday tasks are going to become in life. And it's about that longevity as well. It's about being able to play with your grandkids when you're older, being able to get up and enjoy life and have, you know, a fruitful life and not be stuck in an armchair watching from inside. So I started my campaign to make Britain stronger, and just trying to educate people on, you know, all the different ways that you can strength train. You know, there's resistance bands, there's body weight, there's obviously going to the gym. Nobody has to do what I do. I would never recommend that. But obviously, if you want to, also go and do it, you know. But there's so many ways. There's so many women-only gyms now. There's so many, like, you know, strength initiatives for older people. And I just think, you know, people have got to get involved and, you know, take that first step. It's obviously scary, that first step, but once you take it, you won't regret it.
So when you do finish actually competing, you'll still be going to the gym on a fairly regular basis. We were chatting before we started recording that, yeah, you can't have a couple of days off without, you know, getting twitchy and wanting to go down. But is that what you are going to focus on, of you know, persuading particularly women that, you know, this is what you need to be doing? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, my dream is to open a community gym in Nottingham. You know, it's where I'm from. It's where I was born and raised, and it's where I want to give back to the community that, you know, gave me a lot. But yeah, gym that people can feel safe and inclusive and just, you know, come and do strength in their own way. And we're obviously going to promote strength. You know, we're not saying that don't do cardiovascular exercise, because also that's very important as well. But, you know, we're just saying that there needs to be more, you know, emphasis and priority on strength. You know, there's actually government guidelines that say that you should do 2 lots of 20 minutes a week, but nobody knows they exist. But everybody knows the 150 of, you know, moderate to vigorous exercise. So, you know, it's really important for me to push that, and really important to give people a safe space to come and do their form of strength training.
What an inspiring thing they might be training alongside you.
Exactly, because I'll definitely still be in there training. I probably won't be doing the same kind of weights that I'm doing now, but, you know, I'll be doing some form of something. Yeah, and I think that's important, obviously, for, you know, people to see that live in the flesh and to, you know, give it a go. And you never know as well, like, you know, even with youth and development, I think that's something I'm really passionate about. You know, kids can actually lift from around 8 years old. People don't know that. As long as they can follow instructions, they can lift a barbell. We have, you know, technique plates, little lighter bars that they can use, little wooden sticks and dowels. And it's all about that technique. It's all about their body awareness. It's all about them as, you know, learning who they are as kids, and, you know, finding that kind of sense of community and stuff as well for them to be able to, you know, make friends. So it's really important for me to obviously have that space in our gym, and hopefully we grow up with stronger, healthier adults.
Well, good luck for that, but a few medals to get before then.
Absolutely.
Good luck with that too.
Thank you.
Well, we've whisked our next guest away from the party, which is the Hall of Fame dinner here, and we've got Alistair Brownlee, OBE, got an MSc in finance here in 2013. Why in that time were you thinking I need to do an MSc, Alistair?
Well, yeah, I'd finished my first degree, and my coach Malcolm said, I don't think you're ready to be a professional athlete, full-time athlete. And so I thought I'd start to do a master's, and I thought, well, what's kind of applicable to everything and anything, you know, really kind of holistic subject, and chose finance.
And this was in and around training for and winning gold in 2012.
Yeah, it was very much so. I did do it, split it over, I think, 3 years in the end. So it was a bit of a drawn out process. But I finished it and it was all good.
Was being a student alongside the training a distraction for you? Do you think maybe something you needed not to be so totally focused, or was it actually a bit of a pain in the neck to try and fit in study around what you were doing?
No, I think studying is really important. I don't know if I'd say it's a distraction. I'd just say it's a really positive thing. It gives you something else in your life, something else to lean on when you're maybe training isn't going as well as you'd like, or you're a bit injured, or just in everyday life, just to give you focus. I'm a big kind of fan that a kind of structure in life is really important, and actually we fill empty time with distractions. So it's almost the opposite. And there's loads of work now done on athletes that engage in post-career planning. It's a really positive thing, not only actually for the long term, but also for performance at the time, because it just gives you the freedom to understand that you have got something there post-sport and you can focus on your sport that day.
So are you using that MSc in finance now that you're a retired triathlete?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, I work for an investment business, and financial economics and actually modelling in a lot of the stuff I do comes in really useful.
Are you somebody who looks back when you finally gave up? Did you look back on what has been an absolutely staggering career, not just the back-to-back gold medals with the Olympics, but I mean, I've talked to other triathletes who've said, you changed the sport, you fundamentally changed the sport of triathlon.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked back too much. As an athlete, you're kind of programmed just to constantly move on to the next thing. And I guess sometimes I have just slowed down, and I go out training now where I don't do a lot of swimming, but I do quite a lot of cycling and running. And I think, should I just push on up this hill, or should I do something hard? I think, no, you know what, I'm just going to go out and enjoy and have a great time just doing exercise for fun, and enjoying being proud of what I have achieved, and enjoying thinking about what I'm going to do next as well.
But with you, with Johnny, with Malcolm, your coach, Leeds for a while was the centre. It was the heart of triathlon, wasn't it? And Alex Yee, Georgia Taylor-Brown, others came to train here, to train alongside you and to learn triathlon.
Yeah, very much so. And, it came from so little. If we go all the way back to 2004, it was basically just Malcolm and me and a couple of others on the track on an evening, going swimming in the pool here a few times a week with Jack. Just the most basic kind of training philosophy and environment. But Malcolm's opinion, which was absolutely right, was it's not really about facilities. You have great people first, and that was so true. Great people involved, having great people to train with around you, and there really is no argument. The system that was here and was set up here was by far the most successful triathlon kind of program there has ever been by every single metric you can think of.
And you brought World Series triathlon here. You've also set up the foundation, the Brownlee Foundation. How conscious were you, while you were in the midst of being an Olympic champion, trying to be another Olympic champion, of leaving a legacy that you have left?
That was very important to me. I think being from this area and at the same time, the kind of growing interest in triathlon. There was a lot of demands on our time of schools and clubs of trying to get us to go along. And so the foundation was an important part of that, and us saying thank you for the role that sports had in our lives. And yeah, it's good to see that still going from strength to strength.
What gives you more pride, do you think, that the 2 Olympic gold medals, or what the work that the foundation's done?
It'd be easy to say the foundation work, but yeah, it's still the medals. I'm still a competitor at heart.
You were and always will be, and that's one of the reasons you were so successful. You are back here, though, aren't you, doing some of the research for your nutrition product with the scientists and the people here? Is it nice to be back and doing another thing with the people here?
Well, I've definitely never left, but yeah, I've engaged in the science here in various ways over the years, and yeah, with my startup nutrition brand True Fuels, we've been testing it in the labs in different ways, which is really cool, and looking at how to develop future products and testing a completely new product at the moment that's really exciting. So that's good. It's something that's important to me, that things are scientifically validated and done in the right way. It's great to have the support from Pete, John O'Hara and the rest of the team. And
it seems you're still pushing yourself to the limit when you're testing out the products.
I feel like I'm a retiring addict. I don't, a recovering addict, that I can't switch that kind of thing off of pushing myself. That's going to take some work.
But that drive, I'm sure, will make you succeed in other areas. And you're juggling a few things these days, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I'm very lucky to have opportunities in lots of different things. That I like working hard, and I like finding things that are engaging and that I feel are kind of mentally stimulating. Really, that's kind of what I'm really looking for.
And still yelling at Alex Yee when he's out on an Olympic course, and still managing to find the one quiet spot. He said that he heard your voice and it pushed him onto gold. Yeah,
well, I haven't been to lots of triathlons recently. That was obviously over a year ago in Paris. Yeah, that was the perk of my work with the IOC, to be able to get to places where no one else can get to. But also, still, did you enjoy watching on, or was there a little bit of you itching still to be out there? No, I loved watching both the triathlon. I remember being stood just off the side of the start line on the River Seine on the promenade, and thinking, yeah, thank God I'm not diving into that and doing this race today. Of course, once I was if I was in the race, I would have loved it. But yeah, I was very happy not to be in the race in that moment. Well, good luck with all the things you've got coming up. But wow, what a career you've had as a triathlete, at least. Thanks very much.